Hello, it's your favorite previous IELTS examiner, Mia Andrews. And today we are going to be continuing to look at our speaking band descriptors. There are a different set of band descriptors for the writing portion of the IELTS exam, but we will not be looking at those today. Today, we are only going to be looking at Lexical Resource for the speaking portion of the IELTS exam. Okay? Now, I'm sure we will have the writing band descriptors available for you a little later on. So for the lexical resource in IELTS, we need to be aware of a few things. One, the words that you are supposed to choose for an IELTS exam are supposed to be more formal. So they're of a higher level. You will not use words that would be considered bad in the IELTS exam. I remember one time I had a candidate say the word shit. And they were like talking about going to the bathroom. It was crazy. And we don't want that. We want to be using better words and we want to be describing better scenarios, okay? This is all a part of our lexical resource in a way. It's keeping us more professional and within the formal limits of the IELTS test, okay? Lexical resource is your vocabulary. And your vocabulary are your words, okay? So the words you choose are very important for the IELTS speaking test, and honestly, it's important for the entire test. But here, we want to be choosing words that are of a higher level when we're taking the test, and we also want to be using words that are not the same words that were used in the question that was asked to you. So we want to be using cinematic language. This is to use synonyms within our language. Now, I have a few examples for you that I prepared. For example, 1. If you were asked a question like, describe a job you want to do. Describe a job you want to do. Okay? We have a few things here. We have the word job, right? In your answer, don't use the word job. Instead, maybe try the word career. Career means a job. It's just in a career is a bit more professional. It suggests that you're going to be within that field of work for a long time. But it's okay if you don't plan on being in the field of work for a long time. The examiner will never know. Just use the word career. For example, you could say, the career I plan on pursuing is in marketing. I would like to help create advertisements. I would like to help create advertisements. Instead of saying, I want to create advertisements, because that was in the question, we want to avoid that. Instead, say, I'd like to. I'd like to is the same as I want to. Okay? So just change your word choice a little bit, and this will tell the person listening to your exam, the examiner, that you have a higher level of vocabulary available to you immediately, right? So this is really a great way to start showing the examiner that you understand what they are saying, and then you can quickly change the words and produce an answer that is accurate and cinematic, right? And by cinematic here, I mean with synonyms. Okay. Now, that's not the only thing that we should do in Lexical Resource to improve our score. No, there's something else we really need to look at. So in Band 8 of the public IELTS speaking band descriptors for Lexical Resource, they say less common and idiomatic vocab skillfully, to use less common and idiomatic vocabulary skillfully. A lot of people see idiomatic and they decide that they are going to try to learn to memorize as many idioms as they can. And I would like, from the bottom of my heart, to tell you to stop. One, if you remember an idiom is something that doesn't often have a literal meaning to what's being said. For example, over the moon. Can we go over the moon? Technically, yes, but it would take a lot of money. And it's not how it's used. It's to say very excited, right? But this type of idiomatic expression is difficult to use correctly for some people and is also outdated. Our biggest problem is that it's outdated. Instead of using idiomatic language all the time that could be problematic, I would recommend or highly suggest using collocations instead. Collocations are easier to understand, and we don't hear them as often. Like a very good, nice collocation. For example, to feel restless, to feel restless. These two words coming together, they are often together, right? Restless is a higher vocabulary form, and we want this type of vocabulary. So why not learn some collocations that use these higher levels of vocabulary, and then you don't have to worry about using an outdated or an idiom incorrectly, right? I do want to point out 4 old idioms that I never want to hear again. We have fit as a fiddle, right? Fit as a fiddle means very healthy, but it's something that no one where I'm from would ever say. Over the moon? No one in my generation or younger, as far as I know, uses this collocation anymore. Close, but no cigar. That means you were very close to getting something, to winning something, but you didn't get it, right? And the cigar in this case being equal to a prize. You didn't get the prize, you didn't get the cigar. This is very old. I would also not use this one as well, especially if you're choosing to talk about maybe competitions and you're trying to learn some potential vocabulary to talk about a competition. Don't use this one. Also, pleased as punch. Pleased as punch. I was very surprised to hear this again because pleased as punch means very, very happy, right? But it's very old, it's very outdated, and it felt very kind of forced in, right? I was pleased as punch. You could have just said, I was exhilarated. I was ecstatic. These 2 word choices would catch someone's attention that's grading your exam much better than pleased as punch, okay? So all you need to really do is elevate your language, right? Choose some synonyms that are going to help you speak at a higher level, right? This can really be the difference between like a 6 and a 6.5, just your word choice, okay? We have a few more things to mention within Lexical Resource. The number 1 thing now is do not use slang. Don't use slang words like swag or whatever happens to be popular. Don't be like, oh, it was fire. No. Again, the IELTS examination is held at a certain level of formalism because you're expected to act and speak in a more professional manner. And to do this means that we can't use slang here. Something else you'll notice in the lexical resource, public banned descriptors, is something where they talk about being able to speak about many different things. And they say that they want you to have a wide vocabulary resource. A wide vocabulary resource just means you have the words to talk about space, science, cooking, home life, studying, working, movies, shopping, right? These are all different topics that you might need different words to talk about them and to talk about them well and in depth. So this would be your wide vocabulary resource. If you know you struggle to talk about hair, or you struggle to talk about clothing, you struggle to talk about space, right? Then you should learn more vocabulary within those topics because all of these things might come up on your exam. And if they do, you want to be able to answer them. Sometimes though, we think we know something and we don't. For example, I know from experience that Chinese learners sometimes don't learn about the word like planets in English because in Chinese, a lot of the planets end with the word star, like it translates over to star, Xing. Xing translates over to star. I know my tones aren't right. And that is not, for example, what Mars is. Mars is a planet. Jupiter is a planet, right? The sun is a star. So these things are different, and sometimes it's very good for us to, again, go back and learn synonyms. Go back and make sure we understand what a topic is about. One time I was asking someone about the stars in space, and instead they started telling me about celebrities. And that is a synonym, but it does also let me know that you don't have all of that lexical resource that you need to have a conversation. And that's what we're looking for usually within lexical resource. Okay? I hope that helps you. Have a good day. Goodbye.